Welcome back. The time is 7 minutes past 9 a.m. Central African time, and you're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidiri. Our next story takes us to Europe, where Spain has taken one of the boldest stands yet against Israel's assault on Gaza. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has announced a total arms embargo on Israel, and for the first time, openly labeled the attacks on Palestinians as genocide. Alongside the embargo, Sanchez unveiled 8 other measures, from banning Israeli officials linked to the genocide from entering Spain, to blocking ships and planes suspected of carrying military material to Israel, and cutting off imports from illegal settlements. He has also pledged more humanitarian aid to Palestinians, including over 150 million euros in relief. And while Sanchez stopped short of cutting diplomatic ties with Israel totally, his words and actions, I think, place Spain at the forefront of European pressure against Tel Aviv at this point. Israel's response has been swift, denouncing Sanchez as uh, anti-Semitic, which was expected, and barring Spanish ministers from entering the country. And to help us unpack what this bold move means for Spain, for Palestine, and for global solidarity, I'm joined by Marta Garrich, a feminist organizer and researcher who works on the African continent against corporate extractivism and mining. And she has also worked with the NGO Ubuntu on UN reform in Catalonia out in Spain. And she's also a committed member of the Palestine Solidarity Movement. Marta, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time this morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
No, the pleasure's all ours. I think we can kickstart, this conversation with your reaction to this as a Spaniard. Spain going further than most European countries when it comes to denouncing the actions of Israel in Gaza. They used the word genocide for the first time and are also enforcing a total arms embargo. What do you make of this shift, and how significant is it politically?
Well, thanks. I mean, I must say first of all that is, it's welcome. It's and it's the result of organized and sustained pressure. It's been for 23 months really that the Palestinian solidarity movement in Spain has been demanding stronger action. I think the one thing that we must also acknowledge is that Spanish society and population generally has been very sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, and one expression of it, for instance, that has come very strongly during these past weeks in Spain has been the incredible mobilization at street level in terms of also denouncing La Vuelta, no? When it's one of the 3 cycling big tours in Europe, whereby 7 times along the route, the cyclist has been interrupted, and that is because there's an Israeli team, and the pressure is enormous. There's where it's not interrupted, the show up of solidarity, of flags, of slogans is continuous, to the point that even La Vuelta organizers are asking the Israeli team to please step down, or considering what it means. There's, I think, 3 to 4 days left, and 7 mobilizations are called today as La Vuelta passes through León. So what I'm saying, I know you didn't ask me about this, but what I'm saying is this is also framed in a huge mobilization that and sustained, that has made possible for a socialist and coalition and progressive coalition that we have currently in Spain to come up strong with these measures, and it's something that it's been sustained over the months. I think it's probably now it's the strongest. In terms of, you asked also of the impact. I mean, there's the impact of the symbolic actions. While Spain is a small player in Europe, so to speak, we have maybe Ireland as well, and Spain, who are the ones who are pushing the European Union towards more radical measures that can halt the genocide, and maybe sometimes Belgium or even Slovenia. Other than that, Yeah. Now, other than that, let's see. But and then I also wanted to raise some of the limitations, and this is something that that the Palestinian movement and has been quick to point out. Not without welcoming the measures and the strong condemnation, as you say, and I think Pedro Sanchez also captured that sentiment yesterday by saying, with this we aim to put pressure, we aim to stop, and be on the side of the people of Palestine, and to also capture the feeling and the belief of the Spanish people, and for them to know that their country stood on the right side of history, when there was a genocide going. So that's the framework. The protests continue, though. Yesterday, 13 mobilization across 13 cities continued, because so far this is an announcement. The law is not yet passed, so it's a royal decree law, and the contents remain somewhat unclear. There's loopholes, and the enforcement so far of measures that also have been announced is inadequate. You mentioned, Celalo, that it was a total arms embargo, including ships. Like, for instance, the issue on ships, it's carrying military fuel, not necessary weapons as yet. So there's that. Also, Spain has 2 U.S. military bases, Rota and Moron. And in these bases, the conditions is so far that planes arrive and Spain sits in between, and they don't have to declare what they carry. So there's a lot more work to do. Therefore, the movement is saying it does not stop now, especially now, because as the law has not yet been passed, there's a real risk that it's watered down or even reversed, in Congress without continued pressure. So that's the frame and the conversation where he's at yesterday. It's celebration and recognition that it comes from mobilization, but there's also there's this caution. This caution.
No, most definitely. And thank you so much for just unpacking those little details that we probably might miss because we're looking so much at the headlines. I want to come to another point because as I was reading on this, I found out that within Spain in itself, and Sanchez's decision, it was followed by months of internal debate within the country. Do you think this move reflects genuine political courage and genuine political will, or was he pushed into pressure, as you mentioned, by these solidarity organizations, by coalition partners in civil society? And does it matter that it was a move influenced by external forces rather than a will of internal Spanish leadership and political leaders?
So does it matter? Ultimately, I don't think it does, and I do think that it's happening because there is a willingness and an understanding, of the urgency of the genocide, and certainly, I think here the societal pressure and government partners like Podemos, and it's quite symptomatic that also in the measures Israel or announced, they vetoed the entrance of Yolanda Diaz, who's the vice president and member of Podemos. So certainly, Podemos, if you recall, it comes from the movement of the 15M, the 15th March, which was a huge mobilizations in the streets of Spain, sustained over months, and that was a party that really came from the grassroots. So in that sense, they've been instrumental in pushing these kind of measures, but especially that has come from the movement. In terms of why so long, also what we must bear in mind is that this is the Spanish government that has last elections were difficult, and this coalition snatched power barely, So in fact, some of these measures have been passed in Congress by 176 votes in favor and 171 against, and those 171 are El Partido Popular, and then it's Vox. Vox is our ultra-right. It's a new emergence. They made their appearance in Spain maybe 2 elections back, very minoritarian in the south, and they've been gaining terrain, along with what we're seeing in Europe. And Partido Popular has, as we all know, it's Aznar's party, Rajoy's party, so to speak. So there's a big opposition. They were not short also of reacting yesterday to the announcement of the government, saying denying no any kind of genocide in Gaza, resorting to Spain, like arguments of Spain siding with terrorists. So the internal debates, or in Congress, let me put it this way, at political level, it's real, and it does speak also to some of these delays. But so, and that is also not to take sorry, it's morning and my English hasn't fully downloaded, but
I understand.
Yeah, but that it is, therefore it doesn't take merit from the bold step that Sanchez is taking. I mean, and again, as I'm saying, Spain is a minor player, and a country has been forever been in debt, and the repercussions that can come also from bigger nations can also have an impact in Spain's political, influence and economic possibilities in the region. Yeah.
I wanna wrap up this conversation by just looking at just the broader European context. We've seen Europe very much divided. There are some countries that are still fully supporting Israel in a lot of ways, militarily and in rhetoric also, and others hesitant to act. Could Spain's stance somewhat galvanize broader European action, or it will see a place where Spain kind of remains isolated in Europe and in European circles as backlash for this stance?
So that remains to be seen. Europe has been, and the European Union has been very resistant. I mean, so I was in conversation yesterday with comrades in Spain, and one of the and who work in the European context, and I mean the Zionist lobby is strong in the European Union, and for every move that either Spain or Ireland have tried at that level, there is the lobby reacts immediately. No, it reacts with pressure to other partners, European partners. It reacts with, as you started this piece talking about, the attacks, both political and personal. No, there's been vetoes even a few weeks back. I mean, that's unrelated, but also the mayor of Barcelona was vetoed from entering. He was due for a visit to Palestinian territories, and he was vetoed by Israel. By the way, I wanted to say that one of the demands also that the movement is doing is like that we must go further with this embargo. For instance, one of the things that and that is possible. One of the things that the local council of Barcelona has done is that it's vetoed companies who are negotiating or are doing business in illegal settlements and occupied territories from being able to access governmental tenders. That's something, for instance, that is totally possible and should be included in an embargo of such dimensions. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the lobby is quick to react, and at this point, one of the things that struck me is that I think it was in the frame of European Commission level that there was a discussion on possibly suspending a partial research, with Israel's scientific partners, and even that was not passed. So we remain, cautious in terms of what's possible. I do think, however, that declarations have symbolic weight as well, and that it's certainly speaking up and amplifying what is happening in the streets of Spain, and that's there's a thing about only the people save the people, and that is also important in the framework of an Europe where activists, we are seeing them being arrested in the UK, for instance, when standing in solidarity with Palestine.
Well, there you have it, Marta. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I hope we catch up again soon. Adieu.
Thank you. Adios.
There you go. That was Marta Garrich, feminist, organizer, researcher, and activist in the Palestine Solidarity Movement, giving us critical perspective on Spain's unprecedented arms embargo and Prime Minister Sanchez's historic declaration of genocide. And I think what's important, at least for me, is the fact that, Spain may not hold the military weight of the United States or other global powers, excuse me, but its moral stance, and I think Marta also, touched on this a bit, carries a lot of symbolic power. And for Palestinians, especially, who are currently enduring an occupation and daily bombardment and a genocide that is live streamed and is seen by everyone the world over, symbolism and solidarity kind of matter, and it matters deeply, especially as the story develops and there's chapter upon chapter that is written and rewritten by a genocide that we all see unfold in front of us. But the question now is whether Spain's courage will spark a wider reckoning across Europe, or leave Madrid standing alone and isolated, as it has been the case with other countries that have stood and said, we are unequivocal about it. There's a genocide and everyone can see it. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, News and Views continues.